technical difficulties happened. We had a nice, meaningful conversation about Frank Zappa that didn't get recorded, but that's not going to stop us, right?
Yeah. I said a lot of really smart things, too, so...
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
We talked about Devin, we've talked about Ween, and we've talked about... I mean, yeah, I said some smart things, too.
No, I'm totally joking. I did not say anything smart.
Oh, God, no.
I'm just going to say, like, if I said anything intelligent... It's all used up, and now you're gonna be left with what else I have to say.
Whatever, we're handling it like professionals because we are professionals, and while we might not take ourselves seriously, we are still professionals, and I think that's also part of what like guys like those appeal are. The appeal of Ween, the appeal of Zappa, the appeal of Devin is like they don't take themselves seriously; they take the work seriously.
Yeah.
And I guess where did you come on with Ween? I guess
high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a buddy who, I was a weird guy. My buddy was a weird guy. We were weird friends together, and he would always be listening to stuff that was like really under the radar. Like we both, kind of got into Zappa together. He definitely showed me more of Zappa than I had known, and I think, I can't remember how we like became friends with music. It was either like Mr. Bungle or Tool or something like that.
Something else that would have been either fringe or the codification of like it being the zeitgeist of fringe.
Yeah,
which is what I think Tool is, I guess.
I'm just glad that they're still here and that they're about to drop another one finally.
They're like if Guns N' Roses did it right.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
That's the thing, because like, and I was talking to my friend Kurt about this, about my own philosophy with records and playing the short game about having consistent output in smaller bites. So because you put out a 12-song album, it's still only one album. You get like one press cycle out of it.
Yep.
Versus putting out 3-4 track EPs and getting 4 different press cycles out of it or whatever. And he's like, what do you think about Tool? I'm like, Tool's already successful. I can't argue with what they do. Like,
yeah, it's tough using any successful band as a reference to today's climate. Right?
Especially if they got successful 20 years ago.
Yep. I mean, even like I would, referencing Devin Townsend again, like I'd just be like, well, how does Devin do it? It's like, well, Devin came from a different time. He started with Vi.
Yeah.
And he got, an audience loosely started from that, and
yeah,
and
also there are, I mean, a lot of you could say there are a million talented people in the world. I don't think there are a million Devin Townsend talented people in the world.
No, he's just
that's not fair. Like there are those videos of the vocal coaches reacting to him, where some people are just like, I don't know what is happening, I don't know what to do. I love that. There's the one, the British lady, the vocal athlete.
I didn't see that one. I think I saw the one. Was it Beth Roars?
Beth Roars did one.
And there's some dude.
Yeah, the dude was the first one I saw, but this other British lady is just like she has she's like an instant crush.
Yeah.
Like, which is not hard. I have a crush on Devin too. Like, you should, because he's lovable.
Right.
Somehow he is lovable.
He's relatable.
Yeah, he's relatable.
At least for, like, I guess I would assume people like us.
Yeah,
like,
well,
maybe not relatable to everybody, because but I feel like everybody could appreciate him, even like on the base level of like how self-deprecating he is and how humble.
Yeah.
And just the sense of humor and all that.
Yeah,
but
there's
like,
a vulnerability.
Dude, I don't know. I'm without being too much of a fangirl, like I feel like he is my spirit animal in a sense of just like there's way too many like things that he has said. I was like, I feel exactly that all the time. Like, like too many like personality type things where it's like, it's weird.
Yeah.
I need him to mentor me like someday, like on top of a mountain.
It would be lovely. Like if there was ever like a Devin Townsend themed getaway, like the way
there was talks of that actually, like in Australia.
Yeah.
It was like, it was more of like a studio thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it if anything has come of it. But it was, it was around the Creative Academy. which would be great.
Because I'd shell out. I'd probably shell out for that.
It's probably going to be like $5,000, something like that.
Yeah, most of those things are like, if you look at the Vi Academy, it's close to that, and that's just upstate New York.
It would be a cool experience, though, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it would normalize him to that point, and all the things that we're all high-minded about with him. He's like, dude, that's so not what we're here for. Like, that, if I've learned anything from those experiences, that's how it is.
Yeah.
You know, because to him, it's just a thing, and it's probably a thing he's trying to get away from in order to focus on the actual work at hand.
Yeah.
Which is,
for sure,
the fascinating part of it is that, you know, you look at that, and I have friends who sort of romanticize, like, the Brian Wilsons of the world, and I'm like, do not do that. None of those people would tell you should be like them. None of those people had a choice in who they were and what happened in their lives like that. And they would be the first people to say, don't fucking try and be me. Don't. You're not going to have a good time.
That's what's kind of interesting about the Creative Academy, the Devin Townsend Creative Academy, his thing, because it's like he's breaking down his process, right? And like it's all born out of necessity.
Yeah.
So like he didn't decide to become this per se. It's more like it was a way for him to articulate complex emotions in the only way that he knew how.
This is how I can get out of bed in the morning.
So it's kind of like, as a result, he developed this skill set on his own. And to be able to teach that to other people, I don't know. I'm so interested in hearing about like other students of the academy. Yeah. And like what they've taken from it. I've taken
what have you taken? Because I know I've seen you take these walks. You take walks through through Essex County. And because I actually grew up real close to where you live in Cedar. Like, I grew up in Montclair.
Oh, yeah. I lived in Montclair for a while.
Yeah, I grew up on Christopher Street. I lived there till I was 14. And, like, I don't know. I hated it. I loved the area, but, like, I hated the people. Like, 1 out of every 3 people from Montclair was an asshole when I was a kid and have grown up into being assholes.
I could see that. Yeah, I can see that. I knew a handful of people in Montclair, but I don't know. It was a different time in my life, I guess. And things. I really enjoy the amount of restaurants that are in Montclair.
There's a solid restaurant community for sure.
Oh, it's glorious, and I love the multiple movie theaters and it's like a little. It's cliche to say it's like a mini Brooklyn or whatever you want to call it, but like it's got a cool vibe to it.
Yeah, it kind of always felt like the Village to me, like a bigger version of the Village.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
but I get that for sure, and so like I see you with those videos, and I see you doing something relatable to me, which is these candid reflections.
Yeah.
And so what would you feel the most important things that you've taken away from that kind of from the Academy have been? Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I'm still going back and just trying to refresh, my memory of everything, because the content is so dense and it's so detailed, and there's so many different topics within the Academy.
Oh yeah.
So far, I've picked up some pretty handy insights when it comes to Devin's vocal ability. A couple of cool tricks. Actually, one of my favorite things is like when he was talking about like the high screeches. Mm-hmm. He says he imagines that he's sharpening a pencil in his butt to get those, and I try it out and it works every time. Like if you do like so. Whistle voice, right? Mm-hmm. Like David Lee Roth's, like that whole thing.
Yeah, like the Hot for Teacher thing, right? Or the Atomic Punk thing.
If you imagine sharpening a pencil in your butt, it gives like a different like.
So it's like this rasp with an overtone,
right? It just gives you a lot more support and just kind of punches through more, and it's fucking hilarious.
That reminds me, it's like, you ever see that episode of Friends where Joey's trying to teach an acting class?
Ooh, no.
Because basically he says, like, when I'm confused, when I need to look confused, I try to do this insert not as complicated a math problem as you'd think here. Like I try to divide 4 by 78 in my head or something, or if I need to cry, I put my hand in my pocket. I've got a hole in my pocket and a pair of tweezers, and I start pulling my leg hair out. Like that's what you're saying there. It's kind of like practical. It's almost like method acting.
Yeah, it's just imagery. It's just focusing on something that's like taking the focus off of yourself.
Was the vocal aspect of the Academy a big draw for you?
Definitely, yeah. The vocal aspect, but also like managing yourself on tour, managing your bandmates, managing just all of your relationships in a creative way. Like that was a huge one. Just because like I really enjoy people, but I'm like Devin, I consider myself an ambivert.
Yeah.
Where it's like I can be really extroverted in certain scenarios, right? Like if I have a rapport with somebody and there's trust there, then I'm like a puppy dog and I'm just like, I'm here to entertain you. Right. Yeah. But, I hate big crowds and people drain me after a while. I just need to like be alone to recharge.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I'm super introverted. I totally forgot where I was going with all this. Wait.
Well, it was sort of the
the managing people. Okay, yeah, gotcha.
And in managing people, you're managing yourself.
Right, and just like being that I'm coming up on finally like making my own solo project, like a live band, which is something I've been trying to do for a really long time, but haven't been able to do. It was really important for me to get like my head around just any strategies that he's learned over the years of being a similar type of personality and not being the best with, it's not even necessarily avoiding confrontation, just being like diplomatic and not just being like, well, it's got to be this way. Like I wanted to avoid coming off as like a dictator and anything like that. I just wanted to be, I wanted any strategies that I could get to help me be a better communicator.
Yes.
As far as just dealing with different personalities. Because being a teacher, you obviously have to be an effective communicator, right? But like, you kind of know what to expect with most students, like especially if they're a younger age range, and it's kind of like half of them aren't even sure why they're there. So you kind of know how to execute that protocol, where it's like, okay, we can talk about this.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with, full-grown people, with fully developed personalities and all that, it's just, it's a different dance.
It is.
Any way that I can learn how to manage that and manage my energy and not burn myself out, like I'm all for it. And there's a lot to be learned from his experience in that too.
Yeah, because he's actually like he's had a rotating lineup, but it hasn't rotated a lot. It's more that he just like cycles through people after periods of time. Nothing's ever been really an animosity thing.
Right. It's not like he has some reputation where it's like, oh, he's a diva or he's hard to work with. It's the opposite. And it's more of like he just wants to try out different people because he feels that these people's particular skill set will best serve the project, whatever it's in. And it's like, yeah, what a position to be in.
Yeah, to be able to, it's lovely. And as I've it's funny, I grapple with that myself as both a front man, a band leader, and as a session and live musician, where I end up, wanting to figure out, the leniency to give people or the leniency I want to be afforded. It's about fostering that trust that allows someone to let you go off leash.
Yeah.
The idea that you and I find a lot of that is kind of a psychological thing. You get inside someone's head, you sort of figure out how, the parameters, as a producer, I think about that a lot, the parameters that somebody would operate under in different situations, knowing what is expected of them, and knowing that they have the ability, it becomes a delegation matter too.
Yeah.
Like where, and that can be as much as your personality and your behavior as much as it is your performances and your interpretations of the music.
Yep.
It's a fascinating thing and it's super relatable.
Totally. And the fact that Devin breaks it down that alone is worth it to me.
I mean, finish your thought.
But I mean, I'm still going through all of it all over again too. Like, there's the songwriting module that I've been, reflecting on, and I need to go back. Oh, what was it? The vocal one was a big one for me because I am a vocal instructor in my own right, so I've been studying voice for a number of years. And just getting different perspectives on similar things from different artists.
And was that something that helped out with the Davola album?
Yes, it was.
I think they're diluting helium more now.
Yeah, this is lame.
This is like, because I've tried this before with balloons. It is not.
Testing. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Aaron brought some balloons in because we were looking at some pure guava related shit to talk about, but I don't know enough of pure guava, but
I just wanted to get high.
Yeah, there we go. And unfortunately, it seems like the helium content is down.
Yeah. Wait. Okay. So it's no, it's starting to go.
Yeah, immediately.
Is that okay? See, I can make that voice like
Just like, this is me doing it without helium.
Exactly. Like,
I feel ripped off.
yeah, like we don't need the helium for that. We can just do this on our own.
I mean, the idea is that I wanted us to do a duet of mutilated lips.
But I'm not sure. I'm glad that I bought 4 balloons. We'll see if we can make this work in a little bit.
In a little bit.
I totally forgot where.
You were,
I'm so glad that you remembered to.
Yeah, I wanted to try that and see if that was a bit, and it is sort of backfired. But I don't regret that this is the content. I guess back to the serious question is did the Devontown, did you joining that the Academy line up with and have any bearing on the way you approached the Davola stuff you'd been working on?
A little bit. You know what? I think it's helping me kind of wrap my head around the mindset for performing live.
Mm-hmm.
He mentions like a lot of really interesting things that I totally get. Where like even down to the clothes that he wears, like his whole stage uniform is something so he doesn't have to. It's something so it takes his mind off of himself. So it's something that's not very distracting. It's not something that's
It's something you don't have to think about. Oh, hey.
Yeah, you're doing it.
Yeah. It's funny. I also wonder how this like affects falsetto in that way because it's going down. Let me take one more hit. Freedom of the body, freedom of the night.
This bit has been resurrected.
Oh, I want that scene.
It's funny though because like I don't need the helium to get to that voice. I can just do that on my own, and it's like
I was hoping for a couple extra octaves.
Yeah, like it doesn't translate for falsetto.
Right.
It just like it's just for resting voice. What I want to fuck with, there's like a Mythbusters about what is it, sodium hexafluoride or fluorate, which is denser because I guess the physics of this is that helium is lighter than oxygen, so helium speak happens because of that. But if you have a gas that's denser than oxygen, like sodium hexafluoride, it actually brings your voice, it lowers it.
Oh, cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that would be a fun one to fuck with, but I don't know how to get that. I don't even remember the last question. Yeah, about live performance and clothes, which, you know, his wardrobe has fluctuated between like I totally took the whole tank tops and cargo pants thing from him for a while.
Yeah.
Which is a good easy look, but now he's got he definitely upscaled his brand considerably in the last. Well, basically he shaved his head and started wearing suits.
Yep. And then it became more of like a just kind of, what's the word? Just kind of straightforward, like black, you know, outfit, like just black shirt, black pants. And it was all just to make sure that the attention wasn't on what he was wearing and that he could basically stay in the moment with his voice.
Yeah.
Which ties in with a lot when it comes to vocals anyway. You know, one of the main things that I work with students is making sure that they can get out of their own head.
Yeah.
Speaking as somebody who's always in his own head all the time, almost fucking professionally, it's like I totally understand what it's like to be in your own head all the time, but like it's so, you know, it inhibits like a good vocal performance so much. So I don't know. I just totally relate to that whole thing of details down to like, you know, making sure everything is sitting comfortably, making sure your posture is a certain way, making sure that your stance is a certain way, like, you know, planting yourself like a tree and making sure that everything feels solid. It's just like, it's all to support the vocal.
It is.
As far as stuff that I took away from, you know, his perspective on screaming was really interesting to me because it helped me discover like I was actually coming from a different place in my throat when I was screaming. It was more guttural, it was more low, and like the way that he has it, it's almost, when I started doing it like this, it almost seemed like it was like coming from my forehead.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
I just watching him perform and hearing him, and there's some, but
yeah, no, it was like that.
It made sense.
And it was, it's a lot like head voice.
Yeah.
How it drops off all that weight of chest voice, so it's not as heavy. It was kind of like that, where it was just like you were just dropping off all this weight of like a heavier scream, but you still have all that distortion and all that overtone present. And it ties along the same line, like it ties in with I think the helium made me.
It's all right. I think the bit has run its course.
Yeah. It's along the lines of like what Melissa Cross teaches too.
Had you studied with Melissa Cross?
Yes. Yeah, I sat in with her a couple of times, and actually I recently took another one with her online, and she's fantastic. And such a good vibe, and it's like going to therapy.
I've heard, I've been interested. I've had some training myself. I wouldn't say, like, I think one of my interests is because I don't believe I write metal. I love metal, and I've been curious about taking those sorts of techniques and incorporating them because it just is another level of expressionism. I look to guys like Paul McCartney who have 15 different singing voices.
Yeah, totally.
You know, like listen, like, you know, he's got the Helter Skelter voice, he's got the temporary secretary voice, he's got like just all of those crazy, just different weird affectations he decides to put on, which in a way is also a very Ween thing. Mm-hmm. Like the idea of being able to use your voice as such an expressive tool.
And he's left-handed.
Ween? Or
Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney. Yes, he is.
So there you go.
Yes, he absolutely is. And I loved. I want to just close off with saying, because we've been running a minute, and I'm sorry that the meaningful little bit in the middle, I guess we lost the tamale on that one, but like I just wanted to ask you a bit more about how you're looking at the Davola record, because I read this thing on your website where you reflected on your work in that outfit, and about how it was for yourself about pushing personal boundaries and trying to satisfy these desires within the genres you were working in, for colors and and for features that you weren't necessarily seeing together or at all. Right. And I found that, I just got to say, man, that sounded like a really reasonable way to look at things. And like I had said before, like the whole puffery that a lot of bands put around their stuff is such a turnoff to me. Yeah. The fact that you basically talked about it like a plan of execution, which it was. You know, I found that to be incredible and really wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I'm glad. And even the fact that in that you had admitted that you didn't entirely achieve your intentions, that you came further with it. Yeah. You know, and that the goal wasn't necessarily even to fully achieve what you were after, but to do the next right thing. Yeah. And I think that's huge.
I think part of it is that this newest record took 9 years to finish. Okay. Well, it started 9 years ago, and then just a ton of things happened, a lot of travel, a lot of moving different places, going to school in Arizona, coming to assist with El Nino, starting a new career as a teacher, all that sort of stuff. And then, so like, songs were written 9 years ago. Mm-hmm. Not all of them. Like, but some of the songs are well traveled, you know, like which I love. Like I love the idea of like getting inspiration from different locations and all that sort of stuff, and it just giving a different
absolutely
kind of vibe to each track. But yeah, I would say that like during the time, because a lot of the stuff started. Actually, some of the songs were even written here. There's one that was written in this room.
Oh boy.
Yep, I tracked vocals in this. Actually, no. I tracked vocals in the live room, but it was like just a demo. And it was super El Nino inspired, actually.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like I came pretty close to getting the ideas out of my head as best as I could. The way that I saw it. That's always the hardest thing for me, is just making sure that it's like exactly how I heard it in my head. And, capturing that. But in some cases, too, there were ideas that were like, well, let's try this. And I'm glad that it took so long, because I look back on some of those ideas and be like, well, I probably wouldn't have been proud of those ideas if I had released them today. So
that's incredibly relatable to what I'm doing with my EP.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you for being on this show.
Thank you for having me, dude.
Fuck yeah.
This is awesome.